who's in charge of this? Well, if she's doing that, then he should take care of this. And then it's like one of those things where now I have this whole other perspective because I've seen it work, and I've seen how we've chosen to do things. And it's like, for me, I'm like, it's been so easy. It really has. I mean, we've worked on stuff, but it's been really easy because like we're gonna be together anyways. We have strengths, we have weaknesses. Why not just keep what we do and, you know. Hey y'all, what's up? Welcome to the Stay Sharp podcast. I am Jordan Ray, and this is Rashad Tyler.
How you doing today?
I'm well. How you doing?
I'm alright. Can't complain so much. You look amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad to be here with you. And I think today's topic is going to be fire. We haven't really recorded in the last few weeks because we had a lot of podcasts kind of stocked up, you know, in the chamber waiting to be released. So I'm excited. I think that since we've recorded last, we have grown a little bit. We've been challenged a little bit. We have done some cool shit like we can kind of share with y'all. But yeah, I'm excited. And
yeah, there's been quite a bit of feedback. So thank you for anybody who has shared your thoughts about what we're doing and the usefulness of some of the things that we've shared. And at least, gotten remarkable feedback on the transparency and the boldness of some of the things that, maybe we've shared that are a bit, that are not so run of the mill. Especially like the fasting stuff, and that stuff has been
right.
Again, if you know us personally, like it's not a revelation, but I think putting it in the podcast format has been useful for us to be able to share it with friends and so on and so forth.
Yeah, no doubt. Before we get started, just to remind you guys, Stay Sharp podcast is, it's our opinion, it's our experiences, but this is really designed, and we started this to be able to just not only show you inside of who we are and what we do on a day-to-day basis, but also lend some maybe advice or just options for you as you go into entrepreneurship or a creative profession, or if you've been in one and you're just looking to scale your ideas, get a little bit, sharper around something.
And certainly we want to be a resource for some of the information, as Jordan kind of said, but also be nurturers of a community that involves multiple people wanting to do the same thing. So as we kind of grow, our intention is to involve more people into the conversation that have similar backgrounds and similar paths.
Yeah, no doubt. Today, we're talking about running a business with your significant other. Yeah. And this is a topic that a few people have asked us about, whether it is, just friends, family, clients, potential partners. We've been asked this question over the past, year or so, quite a bit. And we just want to...
You more than me, for sure.
Yeah, maybe so.
Yeah. I think women are much more...
They're like, girl, how you do that?
Right.
How you do that with him? I'm like, we just do it. So that's what we're about to talk about. And this was a topic that a few people just kind of brought up recently. So it was a no-brainer to me. Let's get this and let's roll. So my first question to Rashad, and then also myself, I'll answer it too. Mm-hmm. What do you think the predisposition is around starting a business with your significant other? Why do you think that maybe some of your friends or acquaintances, or they may be hesitant about it, or why do you think people are asking us this question?
Well, a couple of things I'll share, because I want to answer that question straight away, but I want to give some background on me in particular. Yeah, okay. Always derailing, always kind of moving.
You always got to give context.
Reposition the question. So the first thing is I think most of us have only seen or been in really bad relationships.
Really right? Traumatized.
Yeah, and rightfully so. If you have had poor experiences, it's only right that for you to be skeptical going into the next one. Number two, what is the intention for the relationship that you're currently in, and how confident or how certain are you in that relationship, right? So I think right out the gate, a lot of times people are afraid that it's not going to last. They're also shielding themselves away from transparency, particularly financial transparency.
Mm-hmm.
And there's also this bizarre kind of thing about working that exists inside of relationships, like,
Right.
you know,
And
if you're
not
at
even
work,
relationships, I think, but
in
just,
the world, yes,
yeah, in our own minds, we're like, there's got to be a separation.
between church and state, which
Yeah.
in most of our homes is like home and working home life.
Right.
And the reality of that, and you were sharing this in a way that was, I thought, really simple recently, and which I totally agree with. But you know you're going to spend 80% of your life working.
Right.
So if you're going to spend 80% of your life working,
Whatever that statistic is, I might be exaggerating.
I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's something to that effect. But if you're going to spend most of your time ultimately working, like just think of a typical day or a typical week. Most people are spending 40 hours on the job.
Right.
I don't have like the full math that fast in my mind about what the week's worth of woke
Right.
hours
And that's
are like.
kind of, yeah, that's a full time. And if you're running your own business, you're spending a lot more time
Correct.
than that in your job.
So I mean, your day-to-day awake time is, you know, 80. I mean, sorry, is 16 hours, I
Right.
think. So you're splitting that half of your day working with the rest of your life.
Yeah.
I imagine 4 hours is eating and traveling. Then you know,
Yeah.
so the even if you look at it in that way, most of your life is clearly going to be working. So in my mind, in the life design conversation, it was the only way that I could really define or kind of check the box of being available to my family, the family I wanted to build, and my
Right.
family obviously starts with you. So in my mind, I'm going, it's common sense. It's practical. It's not a challenge. It's not a stretch. It's not bizarre. This is baseline. Even if you go so far back to before the industrial age, that was exactly how families were built. Families were built around
Right.
the
business or
the farm,
Yeah.
which was ultimately the
The family.
business, right? And then you had two partners. The guy went out and farmed, and then the woman's share of it was raising the children and taking.
Super tag team.
Yeah, it was the same thing, and I think we have this bizarre set of tags around what that meant, because we seem to believe that the interior part, which was the cooking and raising children, was somehow easier than.
Yeah.
And it was all trash.
So it wasn't a job.
It was all trash information. So the reality is like it was always a model that we've seen in the world, and just in the modern world, we maybe not be so quick to adopt it for all of those other reasons. Again, financial transparency, and then our thought processes about what work and home life should look and feel like.
For sure. And my input on, why people may be hesitant to even be open to that conversation, like, starting a business with your significant other or going into or running a business, whatever that looks like, is I believe that maybe we don't even realize it's possible and that it can even happen. So, similar to what you were just saying. So, I'm just sort of repeating, but I know my experience several years ago, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna keep that separate. That's
Right.
You do this, I do that, cool, we come together whenever. And I don't even know that I thought that it was possible until it worked for us.
Right.
And we also, like anyone else, we have to work at things. We work on this. We'll talk about that, too. But I just don't think that some people know that it's even possible. And, I want to add just a real quick thing too. If you're not able to make money with your partner that like you're, living with and all these other things, like that just, now to me, it doesn't make sense to like do it any other way. But I will say, Rashad, you've been an entrepreneur forever.
Yeah,
like
my whole life.
you've never really done anything else. I mean, you've been in a lot of different spaces, but you've always worked for yourself. I haven't, and I never even thought that. I don't even know sometimes that I thought that starting a business was possible, let alone being able to do that with
Right,
you.
right,
But you
right.
open that opportunity, which is another whole conversation in itself. Just like how I was so close to you and able to see there were other possibilities. So that kind of goes down a different lane. But it is possible, y'all. Like it really is. And it is very situational too. So this is not us saying yo, if you got a boyfriend or girlfriend, y'all need to be starting a
No,
business.
not
That
at
is
all.
not, nope.
And even married couples, like that's not. It's not a suggestion. It's only to say if you have, if there is a project that you can work on together, it is the best extension of a healthy relationship.
Yeah.
It's
It
and
just
I
makes
think that's
sense.
the parting line. It is if you have a healthy relationship, meaning you believe in the other person from an aptitude and from a show up standpoint, which hopefully you've picked a partner that you feel confident is going to show up, right? And if you did, if you
Y'all see
didn't,
my face.
yeah. If you didn't pick a partner that you feel like is going to show up, then that's something that you should discuss.
Yeah. Discuss
And that's
with
what I mean. So
yourself.
like in every way, it has a way of firmly shaking the tree so you can figure out what really is a strong branch, leaf, or otherwise.
Yeah. The next thing that we can get into is just, okay, we've covered that, but how do we make this work? So what are some of the things that you feel like you maybe have, gone out of your way a little bit to make sure that, okay, my relationship with Jordan is this, that, and the third. Like we do, we're involved in a lot of stuff together. So how do you it might be on a daily or just considerations that you have, because
I'll do it in this way for people. So for people watching, do you feel like we date?
Go to dates, yeah.
Right, and so you see the confidence, like so there is a day-to-day, moment-to-moment intention to celebrate life and love and the awareness of the gift of both,
Right.
or all.
Being in both places, I guess. But
so being alive, having the ability to be in love, and having the ability to build a business, like those are all gifts.
Right.
So treating your life and your breath and your body and your spouse and your space and all of those different things in that way gives you the ability to do fundamentally anything because you're starting with gratitude.
Right.
And I think anytime people are not necessarily aware of that part, they start to defend other concepts or other, it's like, well, I don't want that. No, man, play offense for what you do want. What I do want is life, love, health, respect, right? Sharing, growth. And so for us, I think we're constantly focusing on trying to find the right ways to kind of play offense.
Yeah, that's a little bit more deep than what I was gonna bring, but I love it. You'll have some, I'm sure, response to my input. I think that we communicate on a really thorough level.
Okay.
And I know that we're both comfortable with saying how we feel, because there are days that are tougher than others. It doesn't need to be painted as like, oh yeah, like it's just so easy. And like,
but that's not a business thing though.
No, right.
Right.
And so that's just an everyday thing with any relationship that you're in. It's like, okay, I know that we communicate. So if there is any thing that needs to be addressed, like it gets addressed and we talk about it as adults and we're able to, empathize or just really listen, and I don't want to go down, I don't want to be, like super preachy or whatever, but you do really have to listen with both ears and think about how someone else may be experiencing something, because it's not always about us. But then there's moments where it's like, I might need something. So like, I'll come to you with that and we can either go do that thing or we can talk about it or we can, whatever it might be. Yeah. So for me, I know that our communication is A1, but again, like you said, that's got to be any relationship, any business, endeavor, like you got to have communication. That would be one of my things. That's a big deal on how we make it work.
Yeah, I think, and even the idea of communication being A1, it is being open to being wrong, it's being open to whatever comes with the conversation, but also knowing that the person on who comes with the thing that needs to be addressed, right? The person who has a problem can come to you with the full confidence that you're going to listen, but most importantly, that you're not going to come at them with the intention of punishing them. Yeah. So these are all like more like relationship skill set things that have to be addressed and have to be shared internally. And then, of course, there are additional stresses and additional things that kind of pull and yank at your time. So suppose you had children, you know,
Right.
like if you are in a relationship where there are no kids and the person is, I don't know, wanting to fight with you on a day-to-day basis, you can't with any certainty move forward in that relationship under the assumption that it won't be worse if you add more,
Right.
you know, hurdles or obstacles or difficulties. It's goofy. So at the end of the day, we want to try, at least internally, and even for the business and employees and all the rest of that, partners, we want to be super duper realistic about what it's going to take in order to find success. And I think continuing to talk about that so we're clear about what our North Star is, we're able to kind of align our actions towards what will help us get to our North Star. And for both of us, I think we want peace, we want health, we want love, we
Right.
want family, you know, we want increase. And because of that, like we can quickly right a ship that's going the wrong way.
Yep. No, I like that. I think, yeah, it's not in any way easy. Nothing is easy. And so you do have to be intentional about how you're going to approach that relationship,
Yeah.
you know, partnership, like whatever. So I know we're talking about, you know, like how we work together and what
Yeah.
works for us. But in the grand scheme of things, the more broad conversation we're having here is just like, yo, you have to show up every day regardless of who you're showing up for, what you do, all those things. So to kind of go into the next question I have is, you talk a lot about, you know, like life design. Y'all may have heard about, you know, like design the life that you want, like create your future, like all those kinds of things. And that's very much a real thing that we all can do because we all have choices that we can make, and we all have places where we can choose to apply ourselves, and then we have places or things or people we can choose to, you know, not apply ourselves to. So your life design, speak a little bit more about, you know, just where you started there and where you're at with it now.
I just think that the previous generation may not have had the room to make the decisions that my generation and there's generations after have had because of the computer in particular. So I don't want to go down too far of a rabbit hole with that, but that computer alone allows one person to multiply themselves into infinite numbers, you know, of influence, work, communication, so on and so forth, right? So that alone, if you get good at the idea of, okay, I can do or design or research or find out whatever the hell I want to find out, and then leverage that same device in order to deploy or make myself multiplied and in multiple spaces, because I can literally post something to the gram, I can build this business, I can build that business.
Right.
You should know that you have the ability to fundamentally make whatever you want to make because you have the device as a way to make it. Right. So I just think that thing is foundational. But back to the broader question, like, it was clear to me that I would never have a chance to be healthy physically if I had a life or a job or whatever that was going to be stressful. And not that the things that we do are not stressful or not difficult, but I'm prioritizing my health first. And so my health and peace were the very first things that I wanted to attack. Then I started to try to build out concepts around that. So I'm going, okay, being on the road 60% time is not the life for me. If somebody else wants to do that, I totally get it. But I want to be at home. I want to be able to go to the gym. I want to be able to eat good food. I want to be able to sleep in my bed. Because I know what it feels like to not be able to eat good food and sleep. And those are things that normally lead to health problems, right? So at the core of it, I'm just going like, yo, I want to be healthy so I can live a long life, or whatever life I have, I can kind of really deeply enjoy it. The other thing is, after you kind of define health, then this, or physical health, then it's peace. Mental peace, which may have come before or after, but I think if you attack the physical side, then you have a chance to deal with the second. Right. So the businesses came after those things were kind of centered.
Yeah.
So I'm
Taken
going,
care of.
yo,
Yeah.
I can only spend so much time doing this. I can only spend so much time doing that because these things have to come before that. So then what type of businesses do I want to go into? So then you get into investment thinking, because you know good and well, you can't exchange your time for money in perpetuity. That's going to be a killer.
Right.
And then the other thing is like, what can I do that leverages more of my mind than my body? Because I'm going to need for whatever the business is to outlast my body. So those 4 things
Non-negotiables
are the
like,
baselines of how and why we go into the types of businesses that we're into. Like, we don't mind leveraging our bodies, but we know we can't break bricks.
right. I can't.
And if you can break bricks, like, you can't break bricks after a certain age, or your ability to break bricks kind of wanes with your age. So it just made the most sense to me to start to try and evolve my thinking about what the life could be based on what I needed to make sure that was intact, which was my physical and psychological health. Then we built everything around that.
Yeah, I started to ask myself a question recently as we have thought about this and been, asked, how, girl, how you do that? Like, what's it like? Because I think that maybe others perceive there being some sort of, like imbalance or like hierarchy or like, like one of us is the boss of the other and like all of those things like within the business. And it's kind of like, no, like we're, I am really strong at these things. Like Rashad is really strong at these things. And we decided to put those together because because it made sense for us. Again, this is not, like a one size fits all thing. So I started to think about it a little bit more. I don't even want to say deeply, but I'm just kind of like, oh, if you're in a situation where you feel like you wouldn't be able to launch a project, start something like that, it might be a big business, it might be a small business, it might be an event, it could be anything. If it's something that you felt like you couldn't do that with your other half, that to me is, now that I know what's possible, that to me is scary, where it's like, like I wouldn't go into business with him because, this, that, or the third. And I'm like, that's a whole nother thing to kind of like think about. Or, maybe too, like and you talked about this earlier, if you were not comfortable with going into business with me, or me being aware of our finances, or me being able to contribute, you know what I'm saying? Like, or something like that to the family, like that would be,
correct.
That would make it so much harder on you to make sure you're providing everything. And like, and then what am I doing over here? Like, just, I'm just kind of like, just along for the ride. And then that brings up the whole conversation, like, should it be 50-50? Like, who's got the rent? Who's in charge of this? Well, if she's doing that, then he should take care of this. And then it's like one of those things where now I have this whole other perspective, because I've seen it work, and I've seen how we've chosen to do things. And it's like, for me, I'm like, it's been so easy. It really has. I mean, we've worked on stuff, but it's been really easy because like we're gonna be together anyways. We have strengths, we have weaknesses. Why not just keep what we do in,
And it's not to say that we don't have other interests and other things that we're involved in, and all the rest of that. But it ends up being a thing where, to your point, you remove a lot of layers of worry because you have less gender-driven specific jobs, or the concept of that. And more importantly, you have that financial transparency. It's like, all right, this is what this costs. And now it's, are we showing up for this thing that can make sure that we have no worry about our finances?
Right.
And look, if Jordan goes out and adds 5 other things and she's out earning me or whatever, who gives a shit?
Right.
Because we built a base where I've helped support her having the opportunity to go get that other thing.
Right.
Correct. And you need to, I guess, have a mutual and healthy respect for other people in general, or else you're going to need something else for your own psychology that's going to keep you from a relationship that will thrive in other ways.
Right.
Because you need too much credit. I think there are men and women.
Credit.
Yeah. The scorekeeping, right? Because and again, without asking specific questions and just kind of anticipating what people are going to be wondering about, or what problems and people typically have with communication inside of relationships and what territories usually create head bumping. It's like, yo, I want credit for having done this. I did this for you. You did this for me. Or I paid a da-da-da, so she better do this. And I paid a da-da-da.
Tallying, like, who's doing what? Like, and credit, again, I think we're having two conversations in this one little thing. So it's like, we don't want credit. Like, if we're working on a project, like, if you've worked with us before, you may know a little bit more about, okay, well, Rashad, if I need this, I might go to Rashad. If I need this, like, that's Jordan, you know, she kind of is going to lead that. But, like, we really don't want credit. Like, we want to build things that are beautiful. We want to build things that help others be successful, sustainable, scalable, all those things. Even internally, our internal projects is kind of like, you know, we don't really care who gets credit as long as it's done right. And it is, you know, it's makes sense. But in the broader scheme of things, you know, even as a company, like, with Rare Label, like, we don't care who gets credit. Like, we don't care that people, ooh, Rare Label did that. Because if you really want to find out who's doing what, you'll find out. You know, you'll be able to trace it back or ask questions, and then you'll find the source of that, you know, that work or project or whatever that is. But yeah, credit is something that I think we have to let go of, because as long as you're adding value and you're contributing to your relationship, to yourself, to others, to your projects, whatever you're into, the credit will literally come.
Right.
Like, and it's not about seeking credit on the front side or keeping score.
Yeah.
None of that.
Absent the desire to score keep, where's the desire to share? And hopefully there's an environment where you're just consistently information and, you know, just in communication where you're information sharing.
Yeah.
And regardless of what the information type is.
Yeah.
But if you're constantly talking about your past feelings from another thing and all the rest of that, again, you're just defending your position of bad behavior potentially.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So I think that's where 99% of relationships are. You are behaving a certain way or doing a certain thing, and you're spending most of your time defending that thing as opposed
trying
to being
fix something or trying to whatever. When it's like, no, where could you be going if we weren't spending all this time caught up in who did what and how things happened, but we were sharing with each other, hey, this has really worked for me, or I see this opportunity, or what do you think about this? And y'all are putting y'all minds together. You know, like anything, it's going to, you know, it's going to manifest a little bit easier. And I'm so grateful that you saw an opportunity in me, because our relationship, like, we didn't start off like, we weren't in business together and then got into a relationship. It was, we were like in a relationship first and then started, like, I was just kind of like, no, this is me, you do this, I do that. And it was very much like that, you know, for the first couple of years. And then we saw an opportunity, you saw an opportunity. You saw some of the things that I was strong in that you needed. And so you helped me develop those skills, because it's not that you didn't know how to do the skills, but like, you knew you could help me develop them.
But it's really hard to find good partners.
Anyways,
like I have a handful of really good partnerships with other businesses that are good, but to find a person who's going to show up every day and all the rest of that's a supreme set of skills that I wanted to kind of find in a partner, which was you. So it only made sense to me that eventually, because we were going to be building a family anyway, that's the hardest business to build.
Right.
So Rare Label is...
So we're basically, you know, we've built a little farm. You can think of Rare Label as our little farm, and, you know, it's getting taken care of pretty well. We work really hard to take care of the farm. Yeah,
and we'll continue to try to, you know, scale the farm, make this farm bigger, you know, add other people to the farm, and, you know, feed other families on the same farm. So hopefully that analogy works a little bit. But at the end of the day, I'm very glad to be in business with you, and I'm thankful for all of the other partners who are, you know, obviously, you know, huge in us being able to do anything at all. But
thank you.
But yeah, I mean, it ultimately starts to have a positive effect in all of the other spaces. The level is ultimately set here at Rare Label. For sure.
So that wraps today. If you want to know more, first thing you can do is you can ask us to come on your podcast, and we can share more. Or just hit us up, info@rairelabel.com. You can go to our website, rairelabel.com. Instagram, Rare Label, all those things. I am Jordan Ray on Instagram, Rashad Tyler on Instagram. Thank you for watching. We love y'all.
Thank y'all. Talk soon.
Later.